CD Projekt Red further reiterated something they've already said before, and that's The Witcher 4 is not coming out in 2026, unfortunately. At the same time, they doubled down on something they've also said before and sounds almost too good to be real in the modern gaming industry. Their current plan is to release an entire new Witcher trilogy, The Witcher 4, 5, and 6, all led by Ciri, within 6 years once it starts. So in this video, we're going to break down what they actually said on this recent earnings call, what this 6-year trilogy plan really means, how Unreal Engine 5 plays into it all, why 2027 is the earliest we'll see The Witcher 4, and whether this whole thing sounds ambitious, exciting, or just plain unrealistic. I know a lot of this is kind of older news, or at least stuff that they're reiterating for the second and third time at this point, but I haven't talked a lot about The Witcher, and I kind of want to get into it. So we're going to talk about The Witcher 4 and their upcoming trilogy a bit. But if this video is not for you, I completely understand. But if you do stick around, I appreciate it. And before we get into it, if you enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Witcher news. And if you want to further support the channel, consider becoming a member for early access on every video, members only content, your name in the credits, the ability to write in and have your comments featured, and access to the Discord community. It feels like it's basically been forever since The Witcher 3 dropped back in 2015. That game basically redefined open world RPGs and has lived rent-free in people's heads for almost a decade at this point. Since then, CD Projekt Red has been through the Cyberpunk 2077 roller coaster, huge hype, brutal launch, long road to redemption, and then Phantom Liberty bringing it all the way back. Now, the studio has been gradually shifting its main focus back to The Witcher, and during their Q3 earnings call, joint CEO Mikhail Nowakowski gave us a clear snapshot of where The Witcher 4 currently stands. The big quote that everyone of course keeps latching onto that we've heard before is simple: they're not launching in 2026. No date, no window, just a firm not that year. And of course 2027 is the earliest we'll actually see The Witcher 4. He also said there's nothing unusual happening with the game's development currently. It's in full-scale production at CDPR and progressing according to their internal plans, and right now around 447 developers are currently working on The Witcher 4. That's a huge development team, and at least for a while now, this has been CD Projekt Red's main priority. We've already seen that Unreal Engine 5 tech demo with Ciri on horseback riding into a port town called Val d'Arest, but CDPR was very clear that it was just a tech demo, not actual gameplay footage. The real thing is still being built behind the scenes. That tech demo that we saw is kind of a vertical slice that they kind of curated for a showcase, I guess. So we've heard this over and over again for the past several months. No Witcher 4 in 2026, but 2027, now that's where things start to get a bit interesting. And here's the part that's kind of made everyone sit up a little bit straighter since we first heard it. CD Projekt Red isn't just making The Witcher 4 as a one-off, it's the start of a brand new Witcher trilogy, and they're still committed to releasing all 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, within a 6-year time period once The Witcher 4 releases. And Nowakowski further reiterated this during the financial call. He said that future Witcher games should come out in a lot shorter time frame than we've seen before, and that the plan is still to launch the whole trilogy within 6 years. That implies shorter gaps between entries, a quicker turnaround between The Witcher 4 and 5, and then again between 5 and 6. If you do the rough math here and assume they space them all out evenly, you're basically looking at a new Witcher game every 3 years. For example, if The Witcher 4 does actually hit in 2027, The Witcher 5 would target around a 2030 release date, and The Witcher 6 would aim for something around 2033. And this is very different from the original trilogy of Witcher games. The Witcher 2 launched in 2011, The Witcher 3 followed in 2015, and that was already fast by modern AAA standards. And now they're trying to compress 3 games into a 6-year launch window in an industry where development has only gotten slower and more complicated. Of course, on paper it sounds amazing. A new Ciri-led Witcher saga that doesn't make us wait a decade between releases. Sign me up. But in reality, it's a brutally ambitious roadmap that's going to test everything CD Projekt Red has learned over the last decade. But a part of why CD Projekt Red thinks this is even remotely possible comes down to the switch to Unreal Engine 5 as their main development engine. Instead of using their own proprietary Red engine like they did with The Witcher 3 and Cyberpunk 2077, they're building this entire new trilogy on UE5. Nowakowski mentioned they've already been using Unreal Engine 5 on The Witcher 4 for almost 4 years now, and that they're very happy with the results so far. The UE5 tech demo that they showed off earlier this year wasn't just a flex, it was their way of saying, look, we've got our tools in order now. The idea here is that once you've invested heavily in building systems, tools, workflows, and open world tech for Unreal for The Witcher 4, you don't start from scratch for Witcher 5 and 6. You reuse a lot of that foundation, iterate on it, and hopefully speed up development for later entries. In theory, that means Witcher 4 takes the longest since it's doing all the heavy technical lifting up front. Witcher 5 and 6 then ride on that established pipeline, letting CD Projekt Red focus more on story, quest, world design, and polish instead of reinventing the tech for each sequel. Of course, that's the ideal scenario here. In reality, new engines and huge open worlds, especially in Unreal Engine 5, come with their own set of headaches. But it does at least explain why CDPR thinks 3 games in 6 years isn't totally impossible. And as we all know, Unreal Engine 5 has had their own set of issues, especially in big open world games. A lot of times it seems to be hitching between different sectors in the open world. My personal hope is that CDPR brings in all of their expertise with open worlds and is able to improve a lot on the Unreal Engine 5 formula, and they're really able to cut out a lot of issues that the Unreal Engine 5 engine has caused a lot of other developers. At least that's my hope. Maybe it's very optimistic, but I guess we'll see. Let's talk timelines, because that's what everyone really wants to know right now, including myself. We already know that The Witcher 4 is not coming in 2026, and CDPR has outright said that several times at this point. The earliest realistic release window is 2027 for that game, and that lines up with what most analysts and fans are expecting based on team size, tech progress, and the way CDPR talks about the game. If The Witcher 4 does arrive in late 2027 and doesn't get delayed, then that's obviously the date that the 6-year trilogy clock starts, and from there, CDPR's stated goal would be to release The Witcher 5 around 2030 and The Witcher 6 by around 2033 like I said before. That sounds neat and tidy, but of course there's a lot of wildcards to consider. For one, console transitions are looming to next generation. We're likely to see new hardware either right before or during that release window, which can of course complicate the game's development. I believe right now the next Xbox and the PlayStation 6 are currently rumored to be releasing around late 2027. Of course, that might be around the same time that The Witcher 4 releases, so maybe they're already developing for those consoles, who knows. The industry itself is going through constant upheaval, layoffs, acquisitions, shifting strategies, and nobody really knows what things will look like even 2 or 3 years from now. And there's also the simple reality that massive open world RPGs are some of the hardest, most time-consuming games to make in the gaming industry. Just look at how long Bethesda has been working on The Elder Scrolls 6, or how long it's taken Rockstar to ship a new Grand Theft Auto game. So while of course 2027, 2030, and 2033 make a nice theoretical timeline for their Witcher Trilogy release dates, CDPR is being very careful not to officially slap those dates on anything just yet. They've obviously learned a lot from Cyberpunk 2077's launch and to not overpromise on timing. Right now, all they're concretely saying publicly is not 2026 for the Witcher 4 release, and a Witcher Trilogy in 6 years once we start. Anything beyond that, officially at least, is a complete mystery to us. Another reason this whole plan is very bold for them is that the Witcher Trilogy is not the only thing on CDPR's plate right now. Far from it. They're also building Cyberpunk 2, which is still in the very early stages of development. As of their latest report that they just showed, about 135 people are currently working on the Cyberpunk sequel, with plans currently to ramp up that development team to around 300 to 400 developers by the end of 2027. That ramp up is likely tied to The Witcher 4's trajectory. As a part of the Witcher team finishing their work, some devs will shift over to Cyberpunk 2, but I imagine they're wanting to develop both series concurrently, so that they'll have Witcher games and Cyberpunk games out a lot quicker. And of course, the Cyberpunk team is over in North America for the most part now in the Boston and Vancouver studio. On top of that, there's currently a remake of The Witcher 1 in development, which has to fit somewhere in the schedule, but of course that game is being made by Fool's Theory. There are also other side projects currently being worked on at CD Projekt Red, a Witcher multiplayer game which is currently codenamed Cirrus, an internal project that's their brand new IP called Project Hadar, and a non-gaming adaptations based on their IP like Cyberpunk Edgerunners the anime series. All of this means CDPR is trying to operate like a true multi-project studio now, not the one massive game at a time company they used to be and like others still are currently, like Bethesda. Of course, that's great if it actually works, because it could prevent these long dead zones between major game releases, but it also increases the pressure and complexity around scheduling all of the games. And just to temper expectations a little bit, CD Projekt Red has already said that The Witcher 4 won't be showing up at the Game Awards this year in 2025, despite being nominated for Most Anticipated Game. No new trailer, no fresh gameplay, nothing from The Witcher 4 at the Game Awards 2025. Right now, they're clearly playing the long game with reveals, and of course, don't expect anything from Cyberpunk either. on one hand, this is exactly what Witcher fans have been begging for. We've already waited more than a decade between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 4. The idea of an entire new trilogy centered on Ciri this time, landing within 6 years instead of being spread out across, 12 or 15 years, is incredibly appealing to the Witcher fanbase. It also feels like CDPR owning their future. Cyberpunk 2077's awesome redemption arc culminating in 35 million copies sold to date, which after 5 years since release is currently trending ahead of where The Witcher 3 was at the same time. And of course the one sole expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, was a huge hit for them. And all of this gives them the financial and creative breathing room to be this ambitious. They're confident enough in their tech pipelines, confident enough in Unreal Engine 5, and confident enough in the demand for both Witcher and Cyberpunk to set big goals publicly for their future. On the other hand, it's kind of hard for us to not be at least a little bit skeptical about this timeline. We've seen big promises before, not just from CDPR, but from the gaming industry in general, and reality rarely lines up perfectly with grand roadmaps like this. Unexpected delays, shifting priorities, and changing hardware down the line are almost guaranteed to get in the way somewhere. I think the healthiest mindset is this: treat the 6-year trilogy plan as a target, not a promise. Be excited that CDPR wants to actually give us Witcher games more frequently now, but don't carve 2027, 2030, and 2033 into stone just yet. At the end of the day, when you whittle it all down, here's what we know for sure. The Witcher 4 is deep in development with nearly 450 developers currently working on it. It won't release in 2026, and 2027 is the earliest we're likely to see it. CD Projekt Red is still aiming to deliver an entire new Witcher trilogy within 6 years once the first game lands, powered by Unreal Engine 5 and everything they've learned from the past successes and failures from the previous games. That's obviously a huge swing. If they can actually pull it off, we're potentially looking at one of the most exciting RPG runs we've ever seen. 3 big Witcher games in a row, plus Cyberpunk 2 coming up right behind them. And maybe somewhere in the mix, the Witcher 1 remake and a Witcher multiplayer game. And if they don't, well, we've already waited 10 years for the Witcher 4. A little extra time, as long as the games land in great shape, might not be the worst thing in the world. For now, all we can do is watch the updates, keep our expectations grounded, and enjoy the rare feeling of knowing that once the next Witcher era finally starts, it might not be such a long wait between each adventure on the path. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Witcher news. And if you're looking for something else to watch, click one of the videos you're seeing on screen right now. I will see you there. Also, a huge thank you to all the amazing channel members.